Good morning, everybody. Thank you so much for joining us today. I am excited to talk with you guys yet again. As usual, we like to give people a couple minutes to join us, and then we will get going. So just another 60 seconds, and then we'll start. Thank you. All right, I think even though you guys are still trickling in, I know everybody has tight schedules, so we will get going. Thank you so much for joining us. My name is Slavi Younger. I'm one of the co-founders of Frosh. If you're not familiar with Frosh, this is your first exposure to Frosh. We are a manufacturer of acoustical products. We focus on areas in ceilings, walls, dividers, and acoustical lighting. What we'll be talking to you about today is our latest thing, which we are so excited about, a series called SÖFWAL. I will kind of tell you a little bit why we've created this line, what were the thoughts behind it, then a little bit about what everything it does, and then we'll go a little more specific into desk dividers. That's the first subset of SÖFWAL series that is being released first, with a little bit of teasers at the end about all the other section coming up next. All right, so first, let's just touch on why, right? Why yet another product? What is the point, right? So when we look at the modern office and the modern office's needs today, you know, there is a need for flexibility, right? More than ever. People work very differently than they used to. The idea of one seat per one person is, you know, it's very much changing, right? We have definitely seen the shift towards more of the functional areas set up, meaning let's have areas where people can do their focused work. Let's have areas where people can collaborate, and spaces for training as well as socializing, right? And we definitely, you know, like if you've read some of the more recent articles about what's going to happen post-COVID, it does seem like that pressures on having this kind of flexibility is even more. You know, for probably obvious reasons, right? People have to figure out how to work at home, and a lot of people realize, oh my gosh, I get so much more done at home because I have no disruptions, right? So the biggest problem with disruption that we hear has to do with sound privacy, reverberation, and visual privacy, right? So in order to sort of create spaces that we're describing, you know, the challenges today are, you know, you either are building permanent walls, which kind of defeats the point of letting the team have the flexibility to change the space as their needs change, right? Because it's permanent walls. Or there's a lot of, you know, kind of flimsy looking solutions, right? Things that kind of look like, and oh, this was an afterthought. We are fixing things. We're trying to put something in place instead of feeling like, okay, this was put in a place. This is part of the design intent. It is enhancing the look of the place. It makes the place look like where you would like to be. Also, a lot of the temporary solutions you see, not just that, you know, they look like they are temporary, they also tend to often be made out of materials that make certain pieces of the ideal office worse, and that being sound privacy and reverberation. You know, if you add a division that maybe create a visual privacy, but it's not made out of sound absorptive material, it actually will increase the reverberation in a space, and so you actually potentially made the sound privacy, which is the most important thing, people need in order to speak freely and also be the most creative is they have to feel like, okay, I don't need to keep my voice down, or I don't need to worry about being overheard. So what were our goals with this series of SÖFWAL? We've been working on for a long time to create a flexible, highly flexible space division solution, right? So it's one of those ideas, okay, you can make it whatever your needs are, right? Sort of really kind of structurally very, very flexible and application-wise as well, right? Then how do we, we kind of talked about how do we make the installation minimal or no installation, right? So how do we really work on limiting the additional costs that may come with certain solutions? Oftentimes if it's something super complex, sometimes just getting it in, installing it, assembling, things like that can be really substantial part of the cost of ownership, right? So we worked on that. And we cared about providing visual and acoustic privacy, meaning how do we create beautiful things that that will let you put it in place, that also sort of not just create a barrier for that team, visual barrier, but it also kind of keeps the sound in there so they can truly engage without feeling I'm disrupting people or this kind of things, right? And then the last one was, you guys know there's so many beautiful offices, and adding a divider in there needs to feel like it belongs, right? So creating these with the thought of a furniture-grade aesthetics and also furniture-grade durability was extremely important, right? So those were our goals. So let me kind of first tell you about SÖFWAL Technology, what it is, right? So what we are doing is we care about, controlling noise, creating space division, and giving you flexibility to tell us what it is that you need. There are many elements to it. And when we say flexibility, we don't mean like, oh, you can have it this size, that size, and a color, and that's that, right? No, there's more. And actually what you see in this drawing, I will kind of explain slide by slide, but we are definitely taking advantage of PET felt, which if you're familiar with Frosh, this is our go-to material because of its high sound absorption, its ability to work in so many different colors and do so many different shapes to it. I mean, our ultimate goal when we started Frosh essentially is like, let's take PET felt to the next level. We felt like the industry has barely scratched the surface, right? So we definitely want to do that. However, we want to think about other things, right? There's times where sound absorption is not enough. You also need sound blocker, right? So we'll talk about a little bit about that. Then there's things like, okay, I like the idea, but I want natural light, so I'm on perforation, right? However, especially post-COVID, is like, well, I don't want perforation without protection, right? So introducing acrylic into the product as well is some of the things we will talk about. Okay, so let's talk about sound absorption. As I mentioned, all SÖFWALs are made out of PET. PET felt. PET felt is made out of plastic bottles, so it's a highly sustainable product. Its NRC on its own is made, it's 0.75. These walls actually are specifically on purpose hollow. They're completely wrapped in the PET material, so you get the best NRC performance you can out of a divider. And kind of what I mentioned here, and you'll see throughout, that just kind of want you guys to notice, is that when we talk about furniture grade, we very much cared about letting the PET beauty be the things that you really notice the most. So the frame is minimal framing, you'll see. However, the framing, the internal structure of the frame is really robust, right? So this is when we say furniture grade piece, really durable. It's all on the stability and the and the structure that is hidden, that is inside of the piece, right? So stability, right? You can, as I mentioned, very
robust structure on the inside, yet you're looking at a pretty PET, and that's kind of where where those two sort of become a beautiful beautiful marriage. The other one is, I kind of mentioned, a physical barrier, right? As people are returning back into the office, we've definitely seen an increase in acrylic, right? One problem with acrylic is you added another hard surface, so your acoustics may have actually have worsened. That's one. Second is, a lot of people think about, okay, I don't want this acrylic here forever, right? This is sort of a temporary thing for maybe next couple of years. So what you see here is the all SÖFWAL pieces do come with the ability to add acrylic on the inside. So if you do a perforation because you want the light to go through, you can add a layer of acrylic on the inside, or you can also add acrylic extension on top. And what's beautiful about it is that all the frames already have pre-made little slots on top. And it's just a matter of sliding the PET extension onto the product itself. It's literally as easy as sliding it in. Okay, sound blocking. So I know this is kind of confusing. The difference between sound absorption and sound blocking often gets mixed up. So just very briefly, what makes PET sound absorptive is the fact it has lots of nooks and crannies, right? It has lots of air pockets to which, when the sound wave hits this material, it gets trapped in all the nooks and crannies, right? It of course does reduce, it blocks sound, but it's not actually blocking it. What is it? It's deteriorating sound waves, therefore reducing sound. But if you have areas where you actually want the sound not to escape, right? You use a sound blocking technology, which I am pretty sure we are the only PET felt divider company that has created a patent pending process where you can also add a sound blocker on the inside of your PET felt divider, right? So it can be something that so what ends up happening is the outside of your SÖFWAL is doing the sound absorption of the reverberation of the human voice, all that stuff. But there's also a blocker, meaning it will not go between one wall or the other. We've used the sound blocker in other places. If you've seen our wall products, you can actually create, wall with like a brick 2.0 or cubism, where it is absorbing the sound. It's fixing the sound absorption in the room. But let's say you have a factory or a really loud space on the other side of the wall. Adding the sound blocker does not allow the penetration of the sound from that problematic wall that you're sharing with the neighbor, right? So that's kind of how that works. So let's kind of look a little more at the first piece that we are releasing, which is desk division. So desk division, it works with any system furniture, very a lot of flexibility. Every piece, as I mentioned, is built as completely hollow, so high sound absorption, 34 different colors. For the side dividers, you have, I actually kind of will show you. We have several different bracketry that allows you to really fit any system. What you can see here, this is a clamp-on version for side divider, which you also can use for a back division as well. They can connect very easily to each other. The other hardware I will show you is the sort of the invisible hardware. It connects on the bottom of any table, and again, the same slot I talked about that is on top of the divider that lets you put an acrylic extension. The same kind of slide works to add a bracket that lets you install to the table and becomes completely invisible, right? Actually, one of the beautiful options. The customizations, you can perforate, as we mentioned, right? So you want to add some
wanna add just some light, visibility, keep the space off, and can certainly do that. After that, what you can also do is add acrylic on the inside. You can also add the acrylic extension on the top. Or if what's important is to add the sound blocker as an additional thing to sound absorption that you automatically get with this material, that's another thing you can add on the inside. Okay. So this is another side divider you can see here that you can do, hardware here. Here's for benching. What we have is we actually have feet that, and I apologize, I built this in a way that I'm covering the foot. Sorry about this. So if you are trying to figure out how to divide a benching setup, there's a foot so that these can sit right on top. It can be created as a back divider, side divider, and again, I want to point out that you can add the acrylic extension if you'd like as well, really on any of them. So here's just a breakdown of all the different brackets I've mentioned that are specific to desk division. Foot bracket is just obviously a foot, so it can go on a table where there's no space in between, and you need to sit on top. Clamp option, and then one invisible option that attaches to the bottom of the table. Okay, so that was really quick. Dividers are quite simple, right? What's really super cool is what happens after the dividers are out. But the dividers are out, they're ready to be purchased. We actually have been already speccing it on a few projects. But what's really close by is all the rest of the dividers that are all based in the same SÖFWAL technology, right? So every piece of the wall is, what you see here is 4 foot wide and 18 inches high. That's each piece, right? That can then go up to 5 pieces high. Again, you can add casters, or you can do straight foot. All the same things will apply, which is perforation, sound blocker addition. You can add an acrylic piece on top of any of these as well. So there will be that. The other thing is we played around with adding hardware that allows you to take these walls into other things. One of the things is a pivot hardware that allows you to connect the walls with a basic pivot hardware that allows you to have a wall that can be open and closed, like you see here. Or if you are interested in connecting few of these in a not 90-degree angle, pivot hardware is a fantastic option for that. The other area is suspension, right? Anytime you add any acoustic, there's a very common way to also divide a space. You can certainly suspend it with wires to divide a space. You've seen that option of that very much. But we can kind of add it on the slider on the barn door hardware to sort of get a different look. Again, anytime you do something like this, even if the door is open, the sound absorptive material is there. It is absorbing the sound in a space that you need, right? And again, the perforation, the colors, and also the sound blocker on inside, all of those things are options available to whatever your space needs. And here's just kind of an idea. It can keep going, right? So the couple different hardware that's available. One is the pivot hardware I mentioned on the right, the red piece that you see. It's kind of what it looks like if you don't want the walls to be 90 degrees. And then there's also a 90-degree hardware that you can build out to look something like the photo on the left. Again, installation, super simple. It's all just snaps together and ready to function. Because this always comes up as far as the cost. Please let us quote your project. I think you will be very pleasantly surprised. As you probably already know, as far as Fresh goes, we really work very hard to make things. We want people to use them, right? We want to make sure that it's not something we've made that only top percent of projects can afford. So we're pretty proud to where we got it as first price point, and it's definitely very, very reasonable. And after returning back into the office, and I'm sure this question comes up all the time, so this is really important to address, is that PET is, besides it's being super durable and lasts a long time, because it's not an organic material, right? It doesn't naturally attract bacteria. Attracts bacteria. It also can be cleaned and also disinfected to CDC requirements against things like COVID and other viruses. The way you clean it, which is probably gonna be hard to believe, you actually can literally do water bleach mixture or use some of the other available cleaners that say that they reduce viruses onto the material, because you're not gonna fade it, you're not gonna damage it. The only difference between cleaning something like a soft wall versus a hard surface, that instead of wiping, you spray and you let it dry. Okay, so that is the difference there. Sustainability. This is why we love PET felt, right? It is made out of a recycled plastic. It has very low VOC, and we can very much help with helping you earn LEED points because of its of all these functions. So we have all the pretty much all the credentials needed: declare label, red list free reach, HPD, RoSTS, and if you need us to fill out your LEED forms, you can certainly send those, and we're happy to do that for you. And if you're familiar with PET felt, the beautiful things about it is that it comes in so many different colors, right? So you can certainly take advantage of that. The other thing we have been doing that has been quite popular is you can print on PET. So we have been printing all kinds of different things. Actually, beautiful Argyle stuff was leaving the shop yesterday. I couldn't believe it. It was so pretty. The inspiration was, I think, just an Argyle sweater, and the whole wall is going to be these printed panels, right? So you certainly can do that. The two things that we stock as already printed is a couple wood grain panels, but we certainly can print. Really, sky's the limit. Anything goes. Okay, so that is all I wanted to mention. We will keep talking to you guys about more things as it relates to SÖFWAL as we release them. Our sales reps across the country will be getting a sample, so they can really, we're still putting those together. Just give us another couple weeks so they really can showcase all the different things it can do, right? What does it look like perfect? And I can tell you is, honestly, none of these photos I'm showing you even do justice. It looks really pretty. It's really pretty. It's very clean looking. It looks very expensive. So I think you guys will be pleasantly surprised even once you see it in real life. We saved ourselves a few minutes, so I'm going to open all of your microphones. So if anybody has any questions, please be brave. Please ask. I'll be happy to answer them.
Can we get a copy of this presentation?
Yes, absolutely. That is not a problem at all. We can send you a copy of the presentation, and then we also record all of our webinars, so we can actually also send you a link with my Texas accent voiceover. Any other questions?
The hardware and other information that was shown with these hanging as doors and other things like that, is that all individualized and ordered separately, or is that stuff that Frosch supplies?
We supply it all. Yes, it's a complete solution. So the first thing we're releasing is have released is the dividers, and next will be the freestanding walls, and right after that is some of the barn door hardware and sliding hardware type pieces, and that's around the corner. But yeah, it's a complete solution. We will price it with everything, so it's ready to go.
If as a design element, we have some specific hardware that we would like to use, whether it's handles or rolling attachments, rails, those kind of things, if we send specifics about mounting, can that be integrated into the wall?
So do definitely let us know, right? Let us know what it is that you'd like to do. You know, as if you're familiar with us, we do a lot of customizations and things like that. So yeah, no, I know how important hardware, colors, and all that stuff is when it comes to the look. So yes, absolutely. You know, we'll work around it and we'll figure out either is this something we embed here, and you let us know what the sources you'd like to use, and you know, we'll figure out, we'll connect that. Yeah.
Okay. Well, then one last question on, and I may have missed this. I saw that we could insert as an additional barrier, if we have cutouts in the panels, we could insert an acrylic piece interior, right, to stop the flow of air through. Could we instead incorporate a separate colored PET acoustic material so that we can get a dual color effect?
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. We actually done that before a few times. It looks really pretty. Yes, you absolutely can do that. Even, you know what also looks really nice, if you like the idea of a little texture and perforation, even same color looks really nice. But or you can offset it with something else. Yeah, for sure.
True.
That's an easy one. Yeah.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, one last question, sorry.
Yes, please.
As you move towards the wall systems, is there any potential thought or concept to adding spaces where electrical locations could be added by either other contractors, or maybe that's something you're moving into along the base of some of those walls or other things?
You know, I'll find out for you. I know we've kind of, you know, thought of the primary thing we'd like to do is give it a flexibility and things like that. But I kind of know what you mean, at least having it prepped where at least the electrical can run through, because, you know, it's hollow, so that take advantage of that. I will bring that up to our engineers, because I think there's a valid need for that. You know, and that's kind of what you're thinking, right? Like just having the electrical elements to run invisibly through and maybe have access to the space.
Yeah, I know it complicates things a little bit more, but it would be a nice feature at some point.
Yeah, yeah. And you know, listen, guys, if you guys worked with us before, you know, Gary Nightingale, my guy that started this business with me, and he's the designer, so throw something in his mind like, hey, solve for this, and and then he will not let it go until he figure out a way around it. So maybe that's the one I'm just like gonna accidentally mention as, how would we solve for this one?
Hey, Slavi, we also have a couple of written questions.
Okay.
The first one is, can you explain what the sound blocking material is that's in between the two PET pieces?
So it's actually something that we've used from a really old technology. It's when you want a true sound blocker, you actually use vinyl, but you can't just attach it, you know, flat. There has to be a very specific give to it, so it doesn't just bounce back into the space and doesn't work. But it's a heavy loaded vinyl and a very specific installation method to get it to block the sound. That's the most technical way I can explain it. I hope that helps. Yeah.
Also, what is the lead time?
So our lead time is 3 to 4 weeks, bearing any, if you have a, really sizable need, please let us, more time you give us, the better. The reason I'm saying that actually is because the global issues with supply chain. I can definitely tell you is that our shops still operate as fast, as quickly, but I do have to tell you is there has been things where we've had containers and containers stuck at random places. So yeah, our standard lead time applies, 2 to 4 weeks. However, if you have more time, give us more time, especially if it's something sizable for which we would not have that much of that one color, let's say, most likely here in Dallas, that we have the time. We have to add the extra weeks to bring it in. And it's been really touch and go there.
And last question on colors, remind us of the frame and hardware color options, as well as whether or not the vinyl is available in multiple colors.
So the frame colors, the standard is silver, or you can get it powder coated as white or black. The vinyl is black, and we actually have had a project where they used they actually did go with perforation and used the black vinyl on the inside as a, just as an offset to where, and it looked nice. It is intended, this thing isn't pretty, guys, right? So it's intended to be an internal piece. But we do just carry it in one color, which is black. Yeah.
That's all the questions we have as far as written in.
Okay, any other questions before we wrap it up?
Yeah, actually, I kind of have a weird question. Would this be better than wearing earplugs?
I love weird questions. This is awesome. So here's the thing about, earplugs. It depends how much noise there is in the sound, right? So we have to remember a few things. Sound blocker blocks the sound between where you put it, right? So if you introduce this wall from sound coming in, you're not actually creating a completely silent space, right? You're adding these layers to really reduce it. So if there's actually concerns in a space about the decibels and ear safety, you can kind of take what you can do then is introduce enough of the sound blocker and enough of the sound absorption to take the decibels down, so people no longer have to wear hearing protection. If you're actually talking about people wearing earplugs in the office, that's really terrible. That's sad, right? Because the whole idea is, you should be part of the place, right? So that sounds like there's just enormous amount of distraction that reverberate sound blocker and sound absorption would probably make a really big difference, and probably a lot more pleasant than having to spend your day in wearing earplugs.
So basically, these act to muffle the noise. That way it kind of becomes like a consistent white noise around you and not loud like volumes, correct?
Yes. So the way PET felt works, especially in a form of a divider, is it grabs the sound. People, imagine a bunch of people actually sitting at this place. So what happens is the sound waves reach the divider first before they have chance to bounce all over the place, over the hard surfaces, and it's the accumulation of all the bounces that kind of creates that loud, echoey noise. If you're talking about sort of creating areas where people can freely talk, because if you surround them with sound acoustical material, the sound will not have a chance to escape and bother other people. It works incredibly well because it's the sound waves bouncing all over the place that are really distracting. What it does also does help, the most distracting thing for working is this is kind of why you see people add white noise, which is essentially what you're doing. You're adding noise over the noise, just so at least you can't understand the noise or the human speech, because that is the most distracting part. Well, if you take down this human speech ability to bounce all over the place, then you don't need to add the white noise, right? But there's certainly applications in adding, white noise as well for bigger places and things like that. There's places where it's never appropriate, like conference rooms, training areas, that kind of things. Anytime you go somewhere where you're going in to exchange ideas, you don't want the noise, the white noise in there as well. Plus, it really distracts if you have any electronics and people that have to listen on the other side. And in acoustics, they kind of like to say that the rule is A, B, C, right? First is absorb, then is block, and then the C is for, forget what word they use, but it's essentially to mask, right? To add almost like an audible curtain, which would be white noise. Did that help? Here's the thing, every situation is specific. As you guys, because I'm sure if I'm trying to answer kind of a general question, right, then that particular situation might have more specifics. So if you email us and let us know, oftentimes with things like, here's the size of the space, height, the size of the space. Don't forget the ceiling height, because we need that to kind of figure out the estimated reverb in a space. Here's here's the intent, what the space is used for, right? Because there's different needs for auditorium versus a library kind of a thing, right? So it's good for us to know. And what is the primary issue that's going on, right? Are we trying to create sound privacy between a lot of speakers? Is that really what's going on? Or do we have a lot of echo and reverberation, that it makes the space very uncomfortable? And we can give you recommendations, tell you how much of it you need and what product we would suggest. Okay, guys. Anybody wants to get one more question in, or did we have enough of this? All right. Okay. We will send the presentation out. I didn't ask which of you were interested, so I think what we can just do, Laura, my trusty helper, if you can just take all the attendee emails and let's just send everyone a copy so they can have it. And as I mentioned, please do reach out. Our department, which is actually quotes@frash.co. Those guys are really solution providers. They can do math like no one's business. So they'll really help you really quick, right? They will not just do they're not. I don't even know that estimator is or quotes is the fair way to call them, right? They kind of do a lot of acoustical recommendations, and they can certainly help you. Thank you again, guys. I really appreciate you spending the time with me. I really, really appreciate all your questions. And I'm really excited for us to work with you on your next awesome project. Have a good one and have a great day. Thank you.
Thank you.